welcome back to Reading Queen. Today I'm going to be reading Disney Fairies Storybook Collection, A Magical Friend. Let's get started. Tinkerbell and her friends soared through the sky. They were on their way to bring summer to the mainland. Summer was the fairies' busiest time of year. They would have to stay on the mainland for a few months to get all their work done. Tinkerbell's friend, Terrence, a dust keeper, flew up next to her on a white dove. "Hey, Tink," he said, "ready for your first summer on the mainland?" "Absolutely," Tink exclaimed. She had never been so excited. "Well, what are we waiting for? Race you down." Terrence swooped off on the dove. The nature fairies got to work right away. Vidya, a fast-flying fairy, stirred up summer breezes. Silver Mist, a water fairy, met new pollywogs. Rosetta, a garden fairy, sang to the flowers and opened blooms. And Iridessa, a light fairy, guided sunbeams to bright yellow sunflowers. Tink and Terrence landed in a meadow. He led her over to the base of an old oak tree. There, beneath the cluster of leaves, was a camp bustling with fairies. Everyone was very busy preparing for the new season. Tinkerbell couldn't wait to get to work herself. At the moment, though, there was nothing to fix. Everything seemed to be working. "You'll find something to fix," Terrence reassured her. Tink knew he was right. While she waited, she decided to go look for some lost things. But before she could leave camp, Vidya flew into her path. "Hold on, little Miss Spare Parts," Vidya said. "You're not going near the human house, are you?" Tink's eyes grew wide. "There's a human house?" "Tink knows we have to steer clear of the humans or we won't be able to get our work done," Iridessa said. "Right, Tink?" Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the camp, startling the fairies. Fawn, an animal talent, splattered paint on the wing of a butterfly she'd been decorating. "Oh," she cried as it fluttered away. The other fairies quickly hid under the leaves. One fairy, however, was curious about the noise. Tinkerbell flew high above the oak tree and spotted a car driving down a long, winding road. She chased after the car. She had to get a closer look. "Tinkerbell!" Vidya called out. But Tink was already gone. Vidya had no choice but to follow. The two fairies followed the car to a house in the country. A little girl named Lizzie got out with her father, Dr. Griffiths, and their cat, Mr. Twitches. "Thank goodness we're here, Father," Lizzie said. "Look at the creek and the woods and the meadow. I wish it was summer all year long." When the humans had gone inside, Tinkerbell flew up to the car for a closer look. "Vidya, this is amazing," she cried. Tink zipped into the engine to see how all the parts worked. "Tinkerbell, you shouldn't be this close to the human house," Vidya scolded. "Will you stop flitting around in here?" But Tink wasn't listening. She had found an interesting lever. "Let me know if this does anything," she called to Vidya as she pulled the lever over and over. Outside the car, Vidya was hit with several cold blasts of water. Just then, Lizzie and her father came back outside. Tink and Vidya rushed under the car to hide. "Father, look!" Lizzie said. The fairies watched as a butterfly with paint splattered across one wing landed on Lizzie's finger. It was the one Fawn had been decorating. "The wings are two entirely different patterns," Dr. Griffiths said. He knelt beside Lizzie for a closer look. "That's nearly impossible." "Well, I guess that's just the way the fairies decided to paint it," Lizzie said with a smile. "Lizzie," Dr. Griffith said, "fairies do not paint butterfly wings because, as you know, fairies are not real." Dr. Griffiths was a scientist. He took out his field journal, which was filled with facts, and began to sketch the butterfly. Lizzie pulled a fairy house she'd built out of the car. She wanted her father to take her to the meadow, but he was too busy. Lizzie skipped off on her own, while Dr. Griffiths followed the butterfly. When the coast was clear, Tinkerbell and Vidya came out from under the car. Vidya couldn't fly with wet wings, so the fairies began to walk back to their camp. As they passed through the meadow, Tink spotted a trail of buttons. She started to stack them in her arms. Suddenly, Vidya stopped in her tracks. The buttons led right to Lizzie's fairy house. Tinkerbell wanted to explore, but Vidya didn't. "Let's go," they said at the same time. "Tinkerbell, we're not supposed to go near human houses," Vidya said, but Tink was already walking inside. Vidya decided to teach Tinkerbell a lesson. With a gust of wind, she blew the door shut. "Not so safe now, is it?" She called. Suddenly, Vidya heard someone coming. She tugged on the door, but it wouldn't budge. Tinkerbell was trapped inside. Vidya watched in horror as Lizzie peered into the house. The little girl was delighted to see a real fairy. Then she picked up the house and took it home. Vidya followed Lizzie back to her house. She watched as the little girl put Tinkerbell in a bird cage to keep her safe from the cat. Vidya had to save Tink. The fast-flying fairy raced back to camp. "Tinkerbell's been captured by humans," she yelled when she arrived. The fairies gathered around. They needed a plan to rescue their friend. Thunder rumbled and storm clouds gathered. Suddenly, it started to rain. "We can't fly in the rain," Fawn pointed out. But Clink and Bobble, two Tinker Fairies, had an idea. They would build a boat. Back at Lizzie's house, the little girl let Tink out of the bird cage. "I'm not going to hurt you," she said. Lizzie showed Tinkerbell her fairy drawings. Tink realized that the girl loved fairies, but she had her facts all wrong. Just then, Dr. Griffiths came into the room. Tink hid and listened as Lizzie's father gave her a journal. He wanted her to use it for scientific research. When Dr. Griffiths left, Lizzie asked Tinkerbell to help her fill the journal with facts about fairies. Tink couldn't fly back to the camp because of the rain, so she agreed to help the little girl. Meanwhile, Tinkerbell's friends had finished building their boat. They set off down a flooded path through the meadow. The wind and rain made the trip dangerous. The fairies raced along the rapids and soon headed for a waterfall. Thinking quickly, Silver Mist dipped her fingers into the water. She made the water level rise so the drop over the falls wouldn't be so steep. The boat sailed over the roaring water and crashed into the grass on the shore. Everyone was all right, but the boat was badly damaged. "Looks like we're walking from here," Vidya said. At the Griffiths' house, Tinkerbell and Lizzie finished working on their journal. The rain had stopped, and Tink was preparing to head back to camp. As she stepped up to the window, she heard Lizzie trying to show her father the journal. "Father, look," Lizzie said. She held out the journal. "I don't have time," Dr. Griffith said. "I have to find some way to deal with these leaks before they destroy my work." Lizzie sadly turned and went back to her room. Tinkerbell flew up there to meet her. Lizzie sat on her bed. Tears fell onto the pages of her journal. Her father never seemed to have any time for her. Suddenly, a small shadow appeared over the page. "Tinkerbell!" Lizzie exclaimed. "You came back! Oh, Tinkerbell, Father has no time for the field journal." Tink smiled. She wiped a tear from Lizzie's cheek. "I think I can fix that," she jingled. Tinkerbell was the best Tinker Fairy in all of Pixie Hollow. She knew she could help Lizzie. She just had to figure out how. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.